stop scrolling right now. I need you to look very carefully at the pennies sitting in your pocket, your coin jar, your grandma's old purse, or that dusty drawer you haven't opened in years. Because what I'm about to show you today could genuinely change your life. We're talking about 5 specific 1-cent coins that the United States government is reportedly preparing to ban from public circulation and private ownership. And the reason why they want these coins gone is exactly why they are worth an absolute fortune right now. Collectors are going absolutely insane trying to get their hands on these. Auction houses are seeing record-breaking bids. And the crazy part? Most Americans have no idea these coins even exist in their change. Stay locked in, because by the end of this video, you're either going to feel incredibly rich or you're going to run straight to your coin collection and start digging. Let's get started with coin number 5. The 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny with D-Mint mark Allright. Kicking things off at number 5, and we are already starting strong. We're talking about the 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny struck at the Denver Mint, identifiable by that small but mighty letter D sitting just below the date on the obverse side of the coin. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, oh, it's just a penny from 1950, let me stop you right there, because this coin has an absolutely fascinating story attached to it. And the values we are about to discuss are going to make your jaw hit the floor. The 1950 D. Lincoln Wheat Penny has a face value of 1 cent. One single American penny. That's what the United States government said it was worth when it rolled off the presses at the Denver Mint over 7 decades ago. But here's the thing about the coin collecting world. Face value means absolutely nothing when you're dealing with a piece of American history that has survived over 70 years and carries the weight of an entire era on its copper surface. Let's talk real numbers. In circulated condition, meaning the coin has been passed through hands, spent at stores, tossed in jars, and generally lived its life out in the open world, you're already looking at values ranging anywhere from a few dollars on the very low end to several $100s once you start climbing the grading scale. But that's just the beginning. When you get into uncirculated territory, when you're holding a coin that somehow escaped general circulation and maintained its original mint luster and sharp details, the story changes dramatically. A 1950 D. Lincoln Wheat Penny, graded MS-63, that's Mint State 63, for those unfamiliar with the professional grading scale used by organizations like PCGs and NGC, can fetch values in the range of $3,000 to $5,000 at the right auction. But push that grade higher. Push it into the MS-65 range, which is considered a gem uncirculated example with only the slightest contact marks and brilliant original luster. And you're now looking at values that can reach $7,000 to $12,000 or even beyond when the right buyer and the right coin meet at the right moment. And then there are the error coins. Oh, the error coins from this year are where things get truly wild. Documented examples of the 1950 D. Lincoln Wheat Penny exist with double die obverse errors, meaning during the minting process, the die used to strike the coin shifted slightly, creating a doubling effect visible on Lincoln's portrait, the date, and the lettering. These double die varieties are among the most sought after by serious collectors, and when one comes up for auction in high grade, we're talking about prices that can explode into the $20,000 to $30,000 territory, depending on the strength of the doubling and the condition of the coin. There are also known repunched mint mark varieties on the 1950 D, where the D mint mark was punched into the die more than once at a slightly different angle, leaving a visible secondary impression beneath the primary D. These RPM varieties, repunched mint mark varieties, carry significant premiums and can add thousands of dollars in value to an already valuable coin. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. The United States government and various financial regulatory bodies have reportedly been reviewing policies around the private ownership and trading of pre-1964 copper coinage, particularly coins like the Lincoln Wheat Penny series, because of their rising commodity and numismatic value. There are whispers in the collecting community, and they're getting louder every single day, that restrictions or outright bans on the free trade of these coins could be coming. And history has shown us that when the government restricts something, its value in the private market goes absolutely through the roof. Think about what happened with gold in 1933. The government didn't want you to have it, and the moment restrictions were placed, the demand skyrocketed. So if you are holding a 1950 D Lincoln Wheat penny right now, particularly one in good condition or one showing any kind of error or variety, hold onto it tightly. Protect it in a proper coin holder. Get it professionally graded. Because this coin could be sitting on your nightstand right now worth more money than most people make in months of hard work. Next up, coin number 4. The 1944 Lincoln Wheat penny without mint mark coming in at number 4, and we are turning up the heat considerably because we're now entering territory that makes even the most experienced coin dealers get a little nervous. The 1944 Lincoln Wheat penny struck at the Philadelphia Mint carrying no mint mark, which was standard for Philadelphia struck coins of this era. Now on the surface, 1944 pennies are relatively common. The Mint struck over 1 billion of them. So why in the world is this coin on our list? Sit down, because this explanation is going to blow your mind. The face value of this coin is 1 cent. 1 penny. A coin that was designed to be spent without a second thought during the height of World War II, when every American family was feeling the weight of the war effort in every aspect of daily life. But what makes certain 1944 Lincoln Wheat pennies some of the most valuable coins in all of American numismatics is one of the most incredible accident stories in the history of the United States Mint. You see, in 1943, because copper was desperately needed for the war effort, for bullets, for shell casings, for the machinery of war, the United States Mint switched from copper to zinc-coated steel for penny production. These are the famous 1943 steel pennies, and they are a story for another video. But here's where our 1944 coin becomes absolutely legendary. When the Mint switched back to copper in 1944, a handful of leftover 1943 steel planches, the blank discs used to strike coins, were accidentally left in the machinery, and a small number of 1944 Lincoln Wheat pennies were struck on these leftover steel planches instead of copper ones. The 1944 steel wheat penny, struck on a planche that should have been used the year before, is one of the rarest and most valuable error coins in the entire history of American coinage. When one of these comes up for auction, the numismatic world stops breathing for a moment. Verified examples have sold at major auction houses for values exceeding $100,000. That's right, a 1-cent coin selling for $100,000, and in exceptional grades, the values discussed in private sales and elite collector circles climb even higher than that, into the territory of $200,000 to $400,000 for the finest known examples. But let's talk about your average 1944 Lincoln Wheat penny without a mint mark, the standard copper version. Because even without the steel error, this coin has real value that most people are completely sleeping on. In circulated grades, you're looking at a coin worth anywhere from a couple $100s to upward of $1,500 in higher circulated grades like F45 or AU58. Cross into uncirculated territory at MS63 and the value jumps significantly, we're talking $4,000 to $8,000 for a nice example. Push into MS65 gem uncirculated territory, and you're now looking at values in the range of $10,000 to $20,000, depending on eye appeal, strike quality, and color designation. That color designation is critically important with Lincoln Wheat pennies. Coins graded ARD, meaning they retain full original red copper luster, command enormous premiums over coins graded ARB, which have some red and some brown, and BN, which have turned fully brown through oxidation. A fully red 1944 Philadelphia wheat penny in MS65 ARD is a genuinely rare and beautiful coin, and it commands prices that reflect that rarity. Then there are the double die varieties. The 1944 Lincoln Wheat penny is known to have several documented double die obverse varieties where Lincoln's portrait and the surrounding inscriptions show clear doubling under magnification. Collectors specifically seek these out, and premium examples of these varieties can add $5,000 to $15,000 or more onto an already valuable coin's price tag. And coming back to the government ban conversation, the reason authorities are looking more closely at pre-1964 copper coinage as a category is directly tied to coins like the 1944 wheat penny. The copper content alone in these coins has intrinsic metal value that exceeds their face value many times over. When you combine that with the numismatic value and the growing collector demand, government financial regulators see these coins as outside the normal monetary system, and that makes them uncomfortable. The same way the government once tried to control gold, there is growing evidence they want to control and restrict access to high-value numismatic copper coins. Which means right now, today, while you still freely can, if you have a 1944 Philadelphia wheat penny in your possession, get it authenticated, get it graded, and understand what you actually have. Next up, coin number 3. The 1941 Lincoln wheat penny without mint mark number 3 on our list, and we are absolutely not slowing down. Meet the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny Philadelphia mint, no mint mark, a coin struck just months before the entire world changed forever with the attack on Pearl Harbor and America's entry into World War II. This coin carries the weight of that incredible historical moment in American history, and collectors who understand the significance of that context are paying extraordinary sums to own a piece of it in pristine condition. Face value, 1 cent. The United States government, in 1941, told you this coin was worth a single penny. Today, the numismatic market, driven by passionate collectors, historical significance, and increasingly scarce high-grade examples, is telling a very different story about the value of the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny. Let's start with the mintage. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 887 million 1941 pennies. That sounds like a lot, and in raw terms it is. But here's what you have to understand about survival rates. These coins were struck 85 years ago. They went through decades of commerce, spending, losing, melting, discarding, and general neglect before the coin collecting hobby developed into the serious pursuit it is today. The percentage of those original 887 million coins that survived in genuinely high grades, uncirculated, original surface, sharp strike, full red luster, is a tiny, tiny fraction of the original mintage. In MS-63 red, a 1941 Philadelphia Lincoln wheat penny is worth several $1,000s to the right collector. In MS-65 red, you're looking at values in the range of $8,000 to $15,000 for a coin with exceptional strike, full original red color, and the kind of eye appeal that stops experienced collectors in their tracks. And the truly elite examples, coins that have been certified MS-67 or higher by PCGs or NGC, are so rare that when they appear at auction, the bidding can be absolutely ferocious, with final hammer prices reaching $25,000 to $50,000 and beyond for a single penny. Now, the error and variety world surrounding the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny is genuinely extraordinary. This year is known to numismatists for several significant double-die obverse varieties, the most dramatic of which shows noticeable doubling on in God we trust, liberty, and the date numerals. Finding one of these significant double-die varieties in high grade is the kind of discovery that changes people's collecting lives. A top-tier double-die variety from 1941 in MS-65 ARD can carry a value well into the $30,000 to $60,000 range, sometimes climbing even higher when competing bidders really want that specific coin. There are also known die variety coins from 1941, coins where the working die developed unique characteristics through use, creating coins with identifiable features that collectors track and catalog obsessively. The entire VAM and variety coin collecting community exists because people understand that individual coins from individual dies can carry value far beyond what any general price guide suggests. Here's another dimension to the 1941 coin that most casual observers completely miss: the proximity to wartime. The 1941 Philadelphia cent is the last full-year pre-war Philadelphia Lincoln wheat penny before America entered World War II and the composition of the cent itself began changing due to wartime metal restrictions. Collectors of American historical coinage specifically seek out these pre-war transition coins, and that niche demand adds a layer of value on top of the already significant numismatic premium. Add in the government restriction narrative, the fact that numismatic and financial authorities are increasingly scrutinizing pre-1964 copper coins as assets that sit outside the normal monetary system. And you have a coin that represents both genuine historical treasure and a potentially time-sensitive acquisition opportunity. People who bought pre-restriction gold before 1933 either made fortunes or lost access, and those who acted decisively were on the right side of that equation. The 1941 Lincoln wheat penny may represent a similar moment in American numismatic history. Next up, coin number 2. The 1934 Lincoln wheat penny without mint mark "we" are at number 2, and the stakes are getting higher with every single coin we discuss. The 1934 Lincoln wheat penny from the Philadelphia Mint. And this coin comes loaded with Depression-era American history that makes it one of the most contextually significant pieces in the entire Lincoln cent series. 1934. The United States was deep in the grip of the Great Depression. Unemployment was rampant. Banks had failed. Families were struggling to put food on the table. And yet the Philadelphia Mint was striking these beautiful little copper coins bearing the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the president who had held the nation together through its most violent internal conflict, and sending them out into a nation desperately trying to hold itself together through its most devastating economic crisis. Every single 1934 Lincoln wheat penny that has survived to the present day has lived through the Depression, World War II, the post-war boom, the Cold War, the digital age, and now exists as a tangible artifact of one of the most dramatic periods in American history. Face value: 1 cent. But in the collector market today, the story is spectacularly different. Philadelphia struck over 219 million 1934 Lincoln wheat pennies. But again, survival rates in high grades are the critical factor. Finding a 1934 cent that has made it through over 9 decades in true uncirculated condition with original red copper luster is genuinely challenging. In circulated grades ranging from good through extremely fine, 1934 Philadelphia cents command values from a few hundred to a couple $1,000s, depending on the specific grade. But the real money is in the uncirculated examples. An MS-64 ARD, Mint State 64 Red, 1934 Philadelphia Lincoln wheat penny is a coin worth somewhere in the range of $5,000 to $10,000 in today's market. Climb to MS-65 ARD and you're now firmly in the $12,000 to $25,000 territory. And the rare exceptional MS-66 and MS-67 examples, coins so pristine that 90 years of existence has somehow left them virtually untouched, these are coins that numismatic auction records show selling for $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, and in some documented cases, over $100,000. The error and variety landscape for the 1934 cent is particularly compelling. Double die varieties exist for this year that show significant doubling on the date and Lincoln's portrait. Die crack varieties, coins struck after the working die, developed cracks from stress and use. Create distinctive and collectible examples that variety specialists hunt obsessively. Off-center strikes, where the coin was improperly fed into the press and struck off-center, creating a partial blank area on the coin, are dramatic and visually striking error coins that command strong premiums in the collector marketplace. There's another factor that makes the 1934 cent particularly interesting to a certain class of collector. The Roosevelt gold confiscation of 1933. Just 1 year before this coin was struck, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed Executive Order 6102, requiring American citizens to surrender gold coins, gold bullion, and gold certificates to Federal Reserve banks. This single act of government, which many constitutional scholars have argued against for decades, fundamentally changed the relationship between American citizens and their monetary assets. The 1934 Lincoln wheat penny was struck in a country that had just been told by its government that it could no longer freely own gold. And now, generations later, there are credible discussions happening among numismatists, attorneys specializing in property law, and financial regulators about whether similar restrictions could be applied to highly valued numismatic copper coinage. Specifically, the Lincoln wheat penny series, which has seen extraordinary value increases in recent decades and whose high-grade examples now represent significant concentrations of wealth in private hands. The government has done this before. The precedent exists. And that is precisely why collectors and investors are racing to acquire, authenticate, and hold these coins right now, before any potential regulatory changes alter the landscape permanently. Next up, coin number 1, the 1901 United States Indian head 1 cent, and here we are at the absolute pinnacle of our list, the coin that sits at number 1. The coin that makes everything else we've discussed today look like a warm-up act, the 1901 United States Indian head 1 cent coin. And before I even begin to describe what this coin is and what it is worth, I need you to take a breath, because what we're about to get into is genuinely one of the most extraordinary stories in all of American numismatics. The Indian head cent series ran from 1859 to 1909, spanning 50 years of American history that included the Civil War, Reconstruction, the Gilded Age, westward expansion, and the dawn of the 20th century. The design itself, despite being called the Indian head cent, actually features a portrait of Lady Liberty wearing a Native American headdress designed by James Barton Longacre. And it stands as one of the most iconic and beloved designs in American coin history. These coins predate the Lincoln cent, and they carry with them the mystique and gravitas of an America that existed before automobiles, before airplanes, before the modern world as we know it. The face value of the 1901 Indian head cent is 1 cent. Struck over 124 years ago, this coin has been through everything. 2 world wars, the Great Depression, the technological revolution, every major upheaval of the 20th and 21st centuries. And yet here it sits, more valuable and more coveted than ever. Let's talk circulated values first. A 1901 Indian head cent in good condition, meaning the design is visible but worn smooth from circulation, is already worth several $100s to collectors who appreciate the series. In fine to very fine grades, you're looking at values from $500 to several $1,000s. In extremely fine to about uncirculated grades, where the coin shows minimal wear and significant original detail remains, the value climbs steeply into the range of $3,000 to $8,000 for a truly sharp original example. But when we get to uncirculated examples, when we're talking about a 1901 Indian head cent that somehow escaped general circulation and survived over 12 decades in a state that preserves its original mint characteristics, we enter a completely different financial universe. An MS-63 Brown 1901 Indian head cent is worth anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000, depending on strike quality and eye appeal. An MS-63 red and brown example, showing partial original red luster, climbs significantly higher into the $15,000 to $25,000 range. And a fully red MS-63 art example is a genuinely rare coin worth $30,000 or more. Push into the MS-65 territory, and the numbers become genuinely staggering. A 1901 Indian head cent graded MS-65 art by a major grading service is a coin with values that professional dealers whisper about. We're talking $60,000 to $120,000 for a single coin. Auction records for the finest known examples of the 1901 Indian head cent in pristine red uncirculated condition document prices that approach and in some cases exceed $250,000 for a coin with a face value of 1 American penny. And now, the error coins. The Indian head cent series is known for several spectacular error types, and the 1901 cent is no exception. Double die varieties exist on the 1901 that show dramatic doubling of the date and the lettering in the legends. Repunched date varieties, where the date numerals were punched into the working die more than once at slightly different positions, are documented and highly sought after. Off-metal strikes, where an Indian head cent was struck on a planche intended for another denomination, are extraordinarily rare, and when found in high grade can carry values that make even experienced dealers do a double take. A significant error on a high-grade 1901 Indian head cent can push values into the $300,000 to $500,000 territory at elite auction houses when competing bidders who genuinely want that specific coin go head-to-head. There is also the proof issue to consider. The Philadelphia Mint struck a limited number of proof Indian head cents in 1901. These are specially prepared coins with mirror-like fields and frosted devices struck on polished planches for presentation and collector purposes. The number of original proofs struck was only 1,985 pieces, and the number that have survived in pristine condition over 124 years is a fraction of that already tiny number. A Proof 65 red 1901 Indian head cent in today's market can carry values from $150,000 to over $300,000 for the most exceptional examples. Now, let's talk about the government ban element as it applies to the Indian head cent specifically, because this is where things get particularly significant. The Indian head cent was officially discontinued in 1909 when the Lincoln Memorial cent took over. The government has already once changed the design on the 1-cent piece over public and congressional pressure. Pre-1909 Indian head cents represent an era of American coinage that is completely closed. No more will ever be made. No more will ever enter the market from new production. Every single one that exists is all that will ever exist. The supply is permanently, irrevocably fixed, and there are growing conversations within legislative and regulatory circles about whether coins of this age and value, coins that are now functioning more as investment assets and concentrated stores of wealth than as actual currency, should be subject to the same kind of regulatory oversight and potential restrictions that exist for other high-value assets like fine art, precious metals, and real estate. The argument being made by certain government financial watchdogs is that coins worth hundreds of thousands of dollars are no longer functioning as currency, they are functioning as unregulated investment assets, and therefore they should be treated accordingly, with registration requirements, ownership declarations, and potentially strict limitations on private transfer and trade. If such regulations were ever enacted, and the precedent again absolutely exists in American legal history going back to the gold confiscation of 1933, the ability to freely buy, sell, trade, and hold coins like the 1901 Indian head cent could become significantly restricted or, in extreme cases, eliminated entirely for private citizens. This is not fear-mongering. This is the documented concern of serious numismatic attorneys, collector advocacy organizations, and coin dealers who have been watching regulatory discussions closely for years. The 1901 Indian head cent is therefore not just a beautiful piece of 124-year-old American history. It is potentially a time-sensitive opportunity, a coin whose free and open market could theoretically face restrictions, a coin whose values have been climbing consistently for decades and show no sign of slowing, a coin that connects you physically to an America that existed before the modern world, before the Federal Reserve, before income tax, before everything that defines the contemporary American financial landscape. This is the #1 coin on our list. And if you have one, in any condition, I am not exaggerating when I tell you that it deserves your absolute attention. Final thoughts. And there you have it. 5 extraordinary coins. 5 pieces of American history that most people are walking right past every single day without having any idea what they could be holding. The 1950 D. Lincoln wheat penny with its spectacular error varieties and 4-digit values in high grade. The 1944 Philadelphia wheat penny with its legendary steel error potential and the kind of values that could fund a new car or a new house. The 1941 Philadelphia cent sitting at the edge of wartime history with values climbing into the tens of thousands. The 1934 Depression-era cent connecting you to one of America's darkest and most defining economic chapters with 6-figure potential in elite grades. And the 1901 Indian head 1-cent coin, 124 years old, staggeringly beautiful, and carrying values that can reach into the hundreds of thousands of dollars for the finest examples. Now here's what I need you to do right now. Before this video ends, go check your coin collections, your change jars, your grandparents' old boxes, that drawer in the kitchen nobody opens. You might be sitting on something that is worth more money than you have ever imagined. These coins are real. These values are real. And the window to own them freely and openly may not stay open forever. If this video opened your eyes to something you didn't know before, and I genuinely believe it did, the absolute least you can do is smash that subscribe button right now. Hit the bell notification so you never miss when we drop another video like this one. because we do this every single week. Real coins, real history, real values that most people are completely sleeping on. Share this video with someone who needs to see it. A family member, a friend, anyone who has ever mentioned old coins or pocket change. You could literally be changing their financial life by sharing this video today. Subscribe, share, and I will see you in the very next one. Don't you dare miss it. Thanks for watching and happy collecting.